Okay, so here's how we do this. We're going to do a question and answer. We're sitting here on the couch in the break room at CB Gitty. My name's Shane Spiel. We got Glenn Watt. We got Farley and Drayson here from CB Gitty. And off to the side is Ben Gitty. Say hi, Ben.
Hi.
And I'm talking a little. I always start these videos out kind of making small talk because it takes a couple seconds for people to start tuning in because Facebook puts up a little notice that Shane Spiel is broadcasting live. So that's what we're going to wait here. But what we wanted to do is kind of do a question and answer of building techniques, building ideas, getting an idea of how they go about doing things here at CB Gitty. And quite honestly, after lunch, I'm sitting in this couch and I'm about to fall asleep. It feels so nice. Are we filming good, Ben?
Yeah, it's looking good.
Okay, great. Glenn.
Yes, sir.
Let's hear a little bit about you. Now, had you made anything but instrument-wise like this, or done woodworking before you were with Gitty, or tell us your background a little bit.
That's actually a good way. That's a good question because I, prior to working for Ben or building anything for that matter, I had no handy skills at all. I had worked very little manual labor that would put me in a position to work with wood. So prior to building a cigar box guitar, or like I said, working for Ben, I had spent a great deal of time. As a couple of people out there may be familiar with some of my backstory, not doing anything very productive, and so building a cigar box guitar and working for Ben, and then building more cigar box guitars at home gave me a channel through which to exercise a slightly healthier lifestyle. So,
so your story is the same story as so many other people out there that never built anything before. You build one cigar box guitar, and it starts to change you. You really get into it. You want to be building more, and you personify that as one of the people here at CB Gitty. I think that's great.
I think it affects different people differently, clearly, like anything else. And I mean, first, I got it. I am just a guy, not particularly talented in anything, for that matter.
I've heard you play. You're pretty good.
Talented.
You're pretty good.
The point is, thank you. The point is, just I'm not particularly given towards any particular talent, and there's no. Part of what attracts me so much to cigar box guitars is there's no smoke and mirrors to it. It's pretty straightforward, and it's there's no like story of fiction I have to tell myself in order to be interested in it. It's the real deal.
It just captures you like a fish hook.
It's a bare bones thing through which I can express myself, and I think other people can learn to express themselves as well. So it's pretty cool.
Well, on the opposite side of the coin here, Farley, you've had woodworking experience.
Yes.
Let's hear your background.
Well, I was a carpenter for 10 or 15 years before I came here, and I built a tiny house, but I had no musical experience, and was taking guitar lessons and found CB Gitty, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could learn to play a 3-string guitar. And so I'm still working on that, but I came in shortly after I bought a guitar and saw the workshop, and I was thinking this would be an awesome place to have a job. And
It is an awesome
place.
Job.
I love it. So I came in and got a job, and I've been here for a year and a half or something like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now we have a couple questions. I can't read them up there. Ben, can you? They're just comments? Okay. Well, Farley, you said you built a tiny house.
Yeah.
These are just like the ones on the TV show Tiny House
Yeah.
Nation, except yours is a little bit different in what the materials you used.
Yeah, I use mostly salvage material. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. The whole thing is done with salvaged wood, salvaged material, and it's gorgeous. I asked Ben if he would do a video tour and maybe even a little concert inside that tiny house someday for Cigar Box Nation television.
Yeah.
Now, Farley, didn't the using reclaimed materials kind of presented an additional challenge, didn't it? Because of the weight?
Yeah, there were a lot of issues with the weight, but the bones of the structure, the framing is very high-tech and lightweight. I use metal studs and spray foam insulation, and then the exterior, everything that you see on the outside and the inside was all salvage. But yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Now, the salvaged materials, and I'm sorry, I'm asking questions from off frame here. Salvaged materials play a big part in the work you do here.
Yeah.
Because in addition to working on the production models, like the 2-cent Jenny that we put out and various other production models you work on, you also kind of venture off the path and get creative whenever possible. And salvaged materials have played a big role in that.
Yeah, that's true. I've always been drawn to that kind of, I don't know, dirty, used, you know, just organic, you know, making something.
Stuff with a backstory.
Yeah, with a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resurrecting almost in a way.
Speaking of resurrecting, should we tell them what I brought the other day?
Oh.
Y'all don't know this yet, but a couple months ago I was back home in York, Pennsylvania, and I got a call from a fan of my band, a guy named Scott Bitzer, and he was tearing down an old restaurant in downtown York. And the upstairs of the restaurant had a bar that was made from an antique coffin. And they were tearing everything out, and he called me up. He said, Shane, get down here. We have parts of an antique coffin that if you don't take them, they're going to throw them away. So I got, it's like 2 different coffin lids of antique mahogany is what we're thinking it is. Italian mahogany. Yeah. So I, since I was coming up here to New Hampshire, I put them in my van. They are now in the CB Gitty salvage wood area, and we're talking about making cigar box guitar necks out of this antique coffin. And being that it's early in the year, maybe we can have them ready by Halloween.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd definitely be for a special themed build.
Oh yeah, I think there needs to be 13 in a series or something like that. So, I mean, I'm flanked by great cigar box guitar builders here, and they are, you know, just 2 of the people within Gitty. Quite honestly, the revolution is worldwide. People are building these in small workshops, home shops, on their kitchen tables. That's the magic of the building process with all of this, is there's no rules and everybody's using their own creativity. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to ask. We're broadcasting live right now on Facebook. Yeah.
One thing, Glenn, on your own blog site and in different places, you have...
Glenn Watt, W-A-T-T, glennwatt.com.
2 N's, 2 T's.
Two N's, 2 T's.
You've written at some length about the meaning behind building. Why building a cigar box guitar or other homemade instrument is perhaps a little more meaningful than building a tie rack or a napkin holder or other woodcraft type stuff. Not that there's, you know, not saying anything against that. It's awesome. But what the phrase "art that creates art." I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, because that's a very important topic.
I appreciate that. I again, just not to drive home something or beat a dead horse, but I'm not particularly given towards any particular thing. Like all I'm saying is I don't have any talents, and I don't mean that to be self-deprecating. It's just that like I said, I'm just a guy, and having found something that I can take a stick in a box, and I'm not trying to run this up the flagpole like the cliches, but I can take a stick in a box and with very few tools and no skills, nearly no skills at all, and using them, I can make a musical instrument, which to me is a piece of art. And then in turn, if only to strum it once or twice and hear that it makes music, it allows me, somebody who literally had no skills or talents, to make another piece of art by creating music. Yeah. And so, and the fact that I can do it, I mean, and it fills me with a certain satisfaction and joy and gratitude to know that I can be an artist. And I struggle to, that it's hard to come off my tongue to say that. Like, I don't consider myself an artist, but to think that I can create art and then have it create more art is really profound to me. And so,
You know what? You're being very humble about this, but I'm going to go back to that Mia Moore guitar that you built. I was here back at Gitty a couple months ago when you first built it, and I fell in love with it. The Mia Moore 3-string, it has the snake oil gold pickup in there. You created that. You looked at all the resources you had. You put that together. The thing is beautiful, but it's also a magnificent player. It is now a solid instrument as part of my touring arsenal. I'm using it in concert, so you are an artist. You really are. Okay, we got a question?
We do. Dan DeMarco has asked, Shane, what tuning do you use on your 2x4 lap steel? He made one out of oak and loves your tuning.
Dan, I started out using an open E tuning. Typical, same thing you would see with any regular upright guitar or normal guitar, open E tuning. However, you know what? I don't care that the camera's sitting here. I got something for you. You guys talk for 1 second because I got a brand new tuning on my lap steel. I have not debuted it. Since you're asking, hold on, let me get this. This is awesome. Go ahead, guys. Talk.
Hey, everybody. I just wanted to take a minute while Shane's getting that in this unscripted adventure. This here is the original Canjo that was brought to me as a gift from Gatlinburg, Tennessee, or maybe Pigeon Forge, by my friends Dan and Laurel Caldwell. Laurel now works here. You saw her in the last video. This is a simple Canjo. It uses a beer can resonator, diatonic dulcimer style fretting, and this was back in the summer of 2008. They brought me this and gave it as a gift. I looked at it and said, well, that's pretty neat, and play a little tune on it, and like, well, heck, I can build one of these. And got on the internet and started looking for information on Canjos. Didn't really find very much on Canjos, but I discovered Cigar Box Guitars. And it was all from this simple little Canjo. The beer can's all crinkled up now. I tried putting a different nut on it and all sorts of different things, but it was from this Canjo that it's what got me started. And if it hadn't been for that, who knows where we'd be today. So Shane's still getting set up.
Actually, you can bring that camera over here instead of me
moving,
slouching down in the couch. I want to show this off because I've also changed my own design of the 2x4 lap steel.
And I should say we're live in the CB Gitty lunchroom. So if somebody comes into the refrigerator behind Shane, don't even worry about it. It's all part of the plan.
Okay, that camera can even come in just a little more if you want, or I'll get right over here. Okay, the new design that I came up with uses black zip ties for the frets, and I used a nice piece of white pine for this. I have a CB Gitty, what do you call these? Is this like a zebra humbucker or cream and black?
Black and cream.
Okay, and I'm using the CB Gitty K floating bridges. And I used one up here at the nut too. But you wanted to know the tuning. I am trying something new. I'm going to suck real bad at it because I'm still learning. And I even wrote it down on the back here. It's called the C6 tuning. And this is, for a regular lap steel, if you tune it to an open E, it's going to sound like a slide guitar. This C6 tuning, which is low to high, C, E, G, A, C, E. And it's different strings. We're going to get a whole tutorial on that for the strings. It's a little out of tune. This gives you that Nashville and Hawaiian tune the Hawaiian sound to it. There's a whole bunch of free lessons on YouTube for C6 tuning, and I'm going to be spending my time studying it, but that is how I'm tuning my 2x4 lap steels now. I will look forward to an upcoming feature article that will be how to string them up, what strings to use. I'm talking to Ben about having a special southbound strings pack, possibly with the C6 tuning strings, so that you have them as well. But it gives you that Hawaiian. Okay, that's my little, mess up the whole video thing. But you can move the camera back and we'll get back to talking.
Well, we've got a few questions that people have been asking that I want to run through real quick. Put it back on Glenn and Farley here.
Go ahead, get in there.
We could probably all forfeit if we really want to get
I'm a big guy. All right. Sucking my stomach. Oh!
I kind of lost half a Glenn there. All right. So, some quick questions. We covered the lap steel tuning.
The Brady Bunch.
Charles Dustin Around here has asked a few, will we be in Huntsville? Unfortunately not this year, not going to be able to make it down. We are still, CB Gitty is still sponsoring the festival, so you'll see banners and some giveaways there. Some of the stickers and posters and things that we like to send along as festival swag. He also asked, can our amps link to a pedal board? The answer is yes, sometimes. The more aggressive pedals can sometimes overdrive it a little too much, but your basic, your reverb, your fuzz, generally
delay,
will work pretty well. Any interesting stories? How much time you got? Ed Harden has asked, if he uses nylon strings, would you need a truss rod and a 6-string guitar? Probably not.
Nope.
Depends on the wood you use for the neck. Use a good strong hardwood. You should be fine.
Most classical guitars don't have truss rods.
That's true.
The old ones, because there is no string tension on a nylon string guitar. I mean, it is minimal,
Negligible.
Yeah.
So like 3 wound strings. Like if you're going for low open G tuning, 3 wound strings would, I would say, exert far more tension than 6 nylons.
Oh yeah.
All right. Shane, have you used the tunings A, D, F sharp and A, D, F?
A, D, F. I would have to hear it.
It's like an open D with an A root.
Yeah, but I usually, for a guitar that I'm using in concert, I want the root to be, the low string to be the root, just for the way I play. If I have in fact, you'll see I play a 5-string Cigar Box guitar. It's tuned to an open G. A lot of regular 6-string guitarists will play an open G and they'll tune their low E string to a D. Well, I want that bottom string to be the root that I'm working with. So I just clip off the low string and go with a 5-string guitar. That's just my personal preference. But as always, I encourage everybody to explore new
experimentation.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got into slide guitar, I busted so many strings because I was just tuning it. It was like a beat up old acoustic guitar that I used, and I was just trying any kind of tunings. And I'm not done yet. I'm trying.
Been at it 23 years, almost 25 years, and still experimenting. We've got John Lawrence Lane asking how you adjust the intonation on a canjo. Well, you get yourself a hammer. See, no. If you use a slotted screw, you probably can't see it, but this one has a slotted screw as the nut. You can just crank that down in a little further, and it'll lower the string.
For the action.
Lower the string action. Depending on how the string goes through the base of the can, like if you poked a hole and put the string through, you might try making that hole more of a vertical slot, and maybe using a small washer to hold the string. That way you can bring it back down a little bit towards the neck. So there's various ways to do it. Honestly, with a canjo, your backup plan is get yourself a new can. And
This is hobo technology right here. It really is. And that's the beauty of these instruments. Whereas, people would discuss how to get proper intonation on a Les Paul or something. Well, what we're building here is hobo technology. It is homemade.
The height of hobo technology.
Gotta love them. And it has. I love going on stage with an instrument that I know could implode at any moment. I do. I bust strings in concert and continue the song. I love the fact that there is that danger as I'm about to walk on stage. It's why I don't use a set list when I go out in concert. I just go on the stage with instruments that can be destroyed at any moment. And they don't. I've been playing the same acoustic cigar box guitar for 20 years now. But there is that thrill to it. Whereas I know if I got a Chinese Stratocaster, it is going to be what it is. You go in concert, you play like Eric Clapton or whatever, and whatever.
A hero of yours.
My hero.
All right, we got Christopher Amuroso saying, "What's up?"
Christopher!
Hey, Christopher, good to see you.
Hey, Mr. LA Hollywood!
Stephen Paul recommending that everyone smile. If you saw yesterday's noontime broadcast,
We interviewed Stephen up at his restaurant at the Rusty Moose in Alton, New Hampshire.
Yes,
Let's stop for a moment and remind everybody that this broadcast is being brought to you by cbgitty.com, and that's where you get all your cigar box guitar parts. They got a beautiful line of cigar box guitars and amps made by these guys, cbgitty.com. And if you want to know how to build your own cigar box guitar, go to cigarboxnation.com.
This is Cigar Box Nation TV. Cigar Box Nation is the masthead of the cigar box guitar revolution. It was founded by Shane going on 8 years ago, and it's now run by me and Shane kind of together. And that is the biggest online community dedicated to homemade, handmade instruments, including cigar box guitars. So go between there, all of the how-to information, the builders forums. It's really the best place to go to get started on your own journey of building. Selena Bentley asks, do you have a favorite go-to piezo pickup for builds? And I'd kind of like to, Farley, when you're looking at a new build, you got something on the bench, it's a new one-off guitar, and you're trying to think what pickup do you want to put in it? And saying I go ask Glenn is not.
Yeah, exactly. I do kind of gather help from other people with some of those things and try different
So
ways of putting in.
the aesthetic design of an instrument for you, it takes more focus of your creative focus than necessarily what goes in it.
No. I definitely feel concerned about how it's going to sound, but it kind of evolves as it's going along. It's not like this clear cut.
You start from an outline and
Yeah, I
check
kind
on
of
it.
like work it out. I try different things, and it's kind of an organic process.
Well, I think that's kind of how it should be.
Yeah.
Now, Glenn, what's your go-to pickup? If you were building one for yourself at home.
I think that's the fair question there, is that because most people are doing this at home and don't have access to a commercial shop, and so at home, within 5 minutes, I can drill a hole in the bottom of the box, and with a little glue or whatnot, just kind of glue in a disc piezo and make anything an electric. You can make a dome piece an electric if you want by using a disc piezo. They're super easy and super fun. Shane, in particular, has driven me more towards rod piezos. They take a little bit more to install, not much by any stretch of the imagination, but you can route out a little channel in the bottom of your lid on the underside of your bridge, where where the strings are making contact, the most contact. Rod piezos are kind of like a little bit of a level up, if you will. I don't really like putting it like that, but a little bit of a level up. You'll find that's primarily what electric acoustic guitars use in their saddles or bridges. And the next thing is I do enjoy using magnetic pickups because they make a fantastic sounding guitar.
Yeah.
That being said, however, while at home and kind of just goofing around with hand tools, I mean, I just kind of like throwing in a disc piece, if at all, throwing in a disc piezo just for the sheer ease of it.
Yeah.
And a rod piezo if I want it to make a slightly better sound, and a magnetic pickup now and again just for the sheer like I can build a really sweet electric guitar.
Now I've built hundreds of cigar box guitars loaded with just the disc piezo into a jack, and quite honestly, this year I feel like I got religion whenever it comes to internal pickups. I am 100% firm believer in using a preamp, whether it be separate from the guitar or loaded in the guitar. I don't care if it's a circle piezo disc or if it's a rod piezo. It should have a preamp if you want it to sound great. Now I'm performing in concert. I plug my cigar box guitar into a PA system. Any piezo pickup, whether it be rod or disc, they are going to have a mid-range, what I call quack to them in tone. And it's the mid-range kind of takes over. So I like to have a preamp, and I dial the mid-range out, and it sounds like a lush acoustic guitar with elements of the cigar box guitar trashiness that I love.
And you were saying our friend John Nickel has done a lot.
John Nickel made me a believer.
He's done a lot of work and experimentation on how to make disc piezos sound as good as they can. So shout out to John. Not to cut that off, but to keep rolling through here, my brother, Mike Crawford, says he likes your shirt.
Oh, Crawford. This is actually, I'm a huge fan of Black history. It started with listening to blues, but the Crawfords were at Pittsburgh's Negro League team back in the 1920s. And if I remember right, Satchel Paige either played for them or for the Homestead Grays, and I couldn't remember, but I know that my grandfather played an exhibition game against Satchel Paige, and it's kind of a thing of pride. I'm from Pittsburgh, it's a baseball thing, you know?
Mark Maddock asks, what is the most common height and width fret? In my opinion, it's what we call medium. It's 0.039 high and 0.080 or so.
How do you memorize
I
that?
know.
I started, fretwire was the first thing I started selling out of my basement 8 years ago, so some of this stuff you memorize over time. So medium, it's considered the standard for acoustic guitars, electric guitars. Stu Mack calls it their standard. So that's what, you can't go wrong with it. Christopher Amoroso again says that grounding issues are one of his biggest problems when he's using cigar box guitars. I imagine using them in studio and on stage because he's an actively performing musician.
With the members of Quiet Riot, I must say.
And honestly, that is a good question, and it's not an easy one to answer. As everybody sitting here has experienced, and many of the builders out there I'm sure have experienced, grounding issues. You've got your cigar box guitar, whether you put a magnetic pickup in it or a piezo pickup in it, maybe on your bench you plug it into a little amp, test it sounds fine. We do that here, we always test everything we build, and then Shane takes it, plugs it in on stage, and it has a hum, it has a buzz, and what do you do about that? There's an article on cigarboxguitar.com where we go through some of the most common causes of hum and buzz, whether it's 60 cycle hum. Honestly, grounding to the strings is one of the most recommended methods for dealing with it. You try to take a wire from the ground leg of the circuit, say the ground lug of the jack, and get it somehow to attach to the strings.
Yeah, to touch the strings, touch the nut.
Metal tailpiece, a metal saddle, because that adds the strings into the ground loop of the circuit. It can help kind of shield, and especially if you find that if you touch, this guitar doesn't actually have a pickup in it, so it's a bad example, but if you touch the outer rim of the jack, the metal part of the jack that sticks out, and that hum decreases in your amp, quiets down, that's a classic symptom of a grounding issue. And we could do probably a series of videos just on how to tackle that, and it can get pretty arcane. Sometimes you build two identical guitars, exact same components, exact same wiring. One buzzes, one doesn't. And you're like, why? And unfortunately, sometimes there's just not a great answer.
I got the answer. I'm going to quote Jerry Thompson. Jerry Thompson said, cigar box guitars are supposed to buzz. This is an imperfect instrument. It is supposed to buzz. It is supposed to have weird knocks and pings to it. And yes, I do too. I play some magnificent guitars. Your Mia Moore does not buzz. It is just like butter. But, you know, some guitars... Okay, let me go back to this. I once heard this story that John Coltrane was about to walk on stage and do a concert, and he realized that his reed to his saxophone was cracked. So instead of going back to his case and getting another reed, he walks up on stage with the cracked reed. And for the first 2 or 3 minutes of the jam on stage, Coltrane is sitting there teaching himself how to play this squeaky, cracked reed in order to create something new. And for the entire night, he played a type of saxophone sound that nobody had ever heard, and they would never hear it again. And what he did was he took an imperfect instrument and he made it his own. And that's always been my passion with cigar box guitars. If I wanted to play a perfect guitar, I'd just drive down the road to Nazareth and buy a Martin. But you know what? I chose not to go that route. I chose to go the imperfect route, almost like to study primitive art. You want to take something that has those quirks to it and work with them. That's why my music sounds the way it does. You know, if I were to play a Stratocaster, I would sound like a poor copy of Jimi Hendrix, you know, wannabe even. Whenever I pick up a cigar box guitar, I sound like Shane Spiel.
Well, you know what I tell people is a cigar box guitar is never going to sound like a Martin.
No.
It's never going to sound like a Taylor. But it's not supposed to, because that Martin and that Taylor or that Strat or that Telecaster, whatever, it's never going to sound like a cigar box guitar. And if that cigar box guitar has the sound you want, if its voice is what you need to get a particular feel, then that's the only thing that'll do it. And when some of these rockers, some of these musicians like Paul McCartney or whomever, Steven Tyler, get their hands on one, they're like, yeah. What is this? I've never heard anything like this. And they've played everything. And this is the only thing that will make the sounds they're looking for.
What was that Matty Braddock comment about McCartney saying?
I'm not going to do the impersonation.
No, but about the doing things, or I've done.
Yeah, Paul was like, you know, I picked this up and it just does things, and he's like, and you know, I've done some things. Yes, Paul.
Yes, Paul,
yes,
you have done some things.
So, comments keep coming in. I'm sorry if we're not able to get to all of them. I think we're getting a little towards the end of our broadcast here. Stephen Paul wants to know when we're playing Bob's Country Bunker.
Bob's Country Bunker?
Yeah. It's a Blues Brothers reference.
Oh, yeah. Stand by your man. Mm-hmm.
So, any closing words, Glenn or Farley? All we can really say is
tune in tonight.
Yeah, tonight.
8 p.m. Eastern time.
Shane's doing his full electric one-man band concert in the Gitty Juke Shack from 8 to 10.
Right here on this channel.
Cigar Box Nation TV. And we'll try to answer any questions we missed in the comments after the fact. So certainly like to thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to us ramble on a little bit and keep on building. That's what we're going to do.
All right. Fat man, little coat. Hold on, I'm getting up. Thank y'all. See ya.